My name is Georgina Owen, and I work for the Colorado Department of Education. I am the Indian Education Coordinator and also the Title VI Coordinator, but I also work to support English learners in the state and equitable and culturally responsive practices in education. So I think I'm starting my 8th year at the department. I've been in education for over 20 years, and I started as an elementary teacher. Oh yeah, and that's a huge passion of mine. As a matter of fact, it's really difficult for me to visit a classroom and not interact with students. I do miss teaching, but yeah, that's where I started, is as an elementary teacher. It's now become so important to me. I started with supporting English learners, and the department started getting phone calls from our Title VI school districts. And Title VI is a federal program that supports the academic, cultural, and linguistic needs of our American Indian and Alaska Native students. And we thought, at the time, we really didn't have anyone working with that program. So I got the honor and the pleasure to really start doing that. But what we started seeing in Colorado is that there was a huge need for that kind of support. And so it has now just snowballed into almost a full-time position. I work not only with our Title VI grantees, and so in Colorado right now, there are 11 school districts that are Title VI grantees. And then I also work very closely with the Colorado Commission of Indian Affairs in support of our 2 federally recognized tribes. So we have 2 federally recognized tribes in Colorado. One is the Southern Ute tribe located in Ignacio. The other is the Ute Mountain Ute tribe located in Toyac. And Toyac is very near Cortez. So both tribes are located in the southwest corner of Colorado. And so I think it is important for folks to know that, yes, we do have 2 federally recognized tribes in Colorado, but there are so many other tribes that have a legacy of occupation here in Colorado. And there's well over 500 federally recognized nations in the United States. And there are also nations that are not federally recognized as well. So, yeah. When I first began working in Indian education, there were very limited resources that teachers and families, students could use to teach and learn about Colorado's tribes. And I've seen more and more being developed each year, but one that I really want to highlight is this one right here. And so this one right here it's a 4th grade resource guide, and it's titled Nuchu Strong. And Nuchu in Ute means the Ute, so it's the Ute Strong. And Nuchu also literally means the human. So the Colorado Department of Education, in collaboration with the Southern Ute Tribe, the Ute Mountain Ute Tribe, Colorado educators, the Colorado Commission of Indian Affairs, and museums statewide, developed this 4th grade resource guide to teach about Colorado tribes, but from the perspective of each tribe. So everything that is included in this document has been developed with and approved by both the Southern Ute and the Ute Mountain Ute tribes. So even though this resource is specific to 4th grade, the lessons were written with the flexibility to use across all grade levels, K through 12. Yeah, and what I love about this document is that it includes 5 units, and there are 24 lessons total. So the first unit focuses on the history of the Ute people here in Colorado, and there's 6 lessons there. There's people, places, and environment, and there's 3 lessons there. The third unit focuses on cultural heritage, There are 7 lessons there. Cultural and social structures is unit number 4. There's 4 lessons there. And then citizenship, there's 3 lessons there. We did include 1 bonus lesson on Native American imagery, symbolism, and mascots in Colorado schools. I know this is getting a whole lot of attention in our country, especially with the most recent change in the Washington Redskins to the Washington football team, which was great to see. Yeah, no. So with the 24 lessons, I do want to let folks know that every single lesson is aligned to the 2020 standards. So we made sure to include all of that in there. The document has a lot of special features. So for example, it does have the only written version of the creation story from the Ute Mountain Ute tribe. And so that was written by their historian, Terry Knight Sr. It also has a description of the Sundance, and that was written by Eddie Bach Sr. from the Southern Ute tribe, and he is a tribal elder, and that was written with his great grandson. So it's a beautiful description of the Sundance that's included in here. We also have a language lesson that was written by the Southern Ute tribe. And what's wonderful about this is if you go to the website, there's a recording for accurate pronunciations of the words that are used in the lesson. And then History Colorado created a virtual interactive site, and it's titled Ute Tribal Paths. It's wonderful for students to use. It is so much fun. And at the end of the activities, the student will receive a badge that they can print out. So we've been able to align all the lessons in Nuchu with Ute Tribal Paths to just provide students with a more hands-on experience of each lesson. And I don't know if I have the page here for folks to see, but it'll look like this. And so here is the website that History Colorado created. And so we show where New True Strong is aligned to the Ute Tribal Paths, and then we have an arrow showing where to click on the website so students can learn more about what the lesson is about. And so I really encourage students to visit the website because it's just wonderful. You're going to get to see pictures and videos and elders talking about their experiences. So it's very rich in content. And then we also have a whole section on Ute citizenship and tribal government. And that teaches about the current role in political, legal, cultural, environmental, and economic issues. Through the Colorado Commission of Indian Affairs, Colorado tribes have a direct line of communication with the Lieutenant Governor's office. So it's a wonderful, we meet quarterly, and it's an opportunity for the tribes to meet with representatives from all state agencies in Colorado. So if there's any concerns, we try to address them right away. You can find New True Strong if you go to the Colorado Commission of Indian Affairs homepage, and I could send you a link. You'll see this circle of life in the corner, on the top left-hand corner, and if you click on it, it'll take you to the 5 units and all 24 lessons. And then if you scroll down to the bottom, my contact information is there. And so I just encourage you, I think that, the document for all of us that was involved, we have a very emotional attachment to all of these lessons. So we're hoping that has the same effect on those that use the document. So if you have any questions at any time, please feel free to reach out, because I love talking about the process that we went through to create the document.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I just love that you took all of this time and energy and did this, and right now with equity in the United States is so huge. What do you feel this has done when it comes to equity for our Ute tribes, the youth who are coming up, and then also for the rest of the scholars because they're, they're on Ute land, so having them have this understanding of the people who were there before them.
Yeah, well, I think that's probably the most important thing that we wanted to accomplish with the document is that, we have two Ute tribes here in Colorado, and to not be able to learn about Ute history, Ute culture, Ute traditions from the people themselves, I do think we have a responsibility as educators to make sure that our students know who the first inhabitants were, or the early inhabitants were of Colorado, from the people themselves. And so that's really what this document has been able to provide. The other thing is that when I first started, there were limited resources on our tribes here in Colorado. And so this was just an opportunity to really make sure that we compile all that, make it easy for our educators, and work closely with the tribes so that it's their stories that we're sharing, and it's their experiences and their everything. So that's one thing that we're probably the most proud of. In the document, we have a letter from each chairman of the tribe endorsing the content that is in this book. And so that was a real special thing for all of us involved. Yeah, but this was a massive group effort. So it wasn't just, the Colorado Department of Education. We wanted to make sure that it was the tribes leading this process. And we wanted to pull in everyone. So this was really a Colorado effort. So we included, like I said, all the museums here in Colorado. We included many educators statewide. So we did a lot of travel, and so there's a lot of voice in this document. There's about 600 pages or 4 to 600 pages. Not only do we have the lessons in this document, but we also have resources. Every lesson has stories from the tribes with their illustrations. We've included an entire description of the circle of life, which is very central to the Ute people. So the circle of life is a central theme of Ute life, and it is captured visually throughout the entire document of New True Strong. As a matter of fact, we have the circle of life on every corner of each page. So the Ute people have a very unique relationship with the land, plants, and all things living. And the circle of life represents the unique relationship in its shape, colors, and reference to the number 4, which represents ideas and qualities for the existence of life. And so this right here is a visual that was shared with us by the Southern Ute tribe, and it is the only visual on paper that they have of the circle of life. As a matter of fact, when we did this document, they wanted to update the visual, and we wanted it just the way it is. And so this is what you're seeing here is the original and only used visual of the circle of life for the Southern Ute tribe. So the circle represents the cycle of life from birth to death of the people, animals, all creatures, and plants. The red in the document is spring, and it represents infancy. The summer is yellow, and it represents youth. Fall is white, and it represents adulthood. And winter is black, which represents their elderly and passing on to the spirit world. So what they wanted to really communicate with this is the journey of life. And so that's really what the circle of life is. There's a little bit more of a description in the document, but that really gives you um, the main points of their visual here. And it's different for every tribe. That's another thing that we've learned too. So the Southern Ute has their interpretation of the circle of life, and the Ute Mountain Ute tribe, which is not far away, has their own interpretation of the circle of life. And I'm sure that that is true across over all 500 nations. Well, I think a good way to think about it is, each person is unique. And we need to take the time to get to know and understand each individual person, because each individual person has had their own experiences in life, their own, they have their own background, they have their own interactions with folks. And I think that the tribes are just as unique and individual as we all are. And so if we don't take the time to get to know and understand each individual tribe, we're making assumptions about that tribe. And sometimes those assumptions can be very harmful to the folks that are part of that tribe. And so, I think that when you take the time to get to learn about who they are and get to learn about their history, and you take the time to hear their stories, you grow as an individual as well. And so it's another learning, it's another form of learning. And until you fully take the time to do that with folks, to sit down with folks and learn, you don't really truly understand who they are. And so that's why it's so important that we really understand that there are many tribes, and that we really understand that each tribe is very unique, and we need to take the time to learn about each tribe from the people in the tribe. And so, we think about our Native American people as, people in the past, but that is not that is not a truth that we need to embrace. That our Native American people are here today, they're alive, they're well, and they are contributing to Colorado today. And so that's something that we need to understand. Well, I think the most important thing, and I get asked a lot, is with the way we're doing learning now, what are some of those best practices? And we keep coming back to the same one, which is the human connection. I think that it's so important for all of us to keep in mind that we're all experiencing this pandemic. We're all experiencing this in our own way, and we can't assume that everybody is okay. And so one of the things that we really need to take the time to do is to make sure that everybody is okay, is to give students the opportunity to talk about anything that they need to talk about. But that human connection is so important, and it's something that we can't lose as we're transitioning to this remote learning. And I think that teachers have been doing a really good job trying to find creative ways to make contact with their students, to make sure that they're okay, and to make sure that they understand that they are not alone in this crazy pandemic year that we are all experiencing. And so writing notes, I know that, I used to be a teacher, and I would have loved a note from my student during this time, or a phone call. Make sure that you take the time to connect with your friends. Make sure that you take the time to just really step away from listening to everything that's going on in the world, if it's something that adds additional stress. And really, I think the most important thing for me is that educators, as well as students and families, really take care of themselves. And that's probably the most important thing for me, is just making sure that we take time for reflection, for learning, but learning in a different way, that we use the learning platform that we have now to really talk to each other. Well, and I think that that's probably what's been really excited, is that educators have really been, there's been a lot of enthusiasm around the document, and teachers are ready to get started. One of the things that we also included in the document is background information, not only for teachers, but background information for the lesson itself, and also background information for students. Because what we wanted to make sure is that the learning is rich. And so Colorado is a very diverse state. And when we look at Native American Heritage Month, it's an opportunity to really celebrate the 58,476 students that self-identify American Indian and Alaska Native. And, like I said, we've got 2 federally recognized tribes. We've got other tribes that have historically been here in Colorado, but I think we have a responsibility to educate our students not only in the month of November, but year round on our Native American people. And so when I think about it, is there's so much information, and to really only take 1 month is a real disservice to our students. And so this is something that we need to be doing year round, not just in the month of November. Sure. Well, I just want to say that we do have several resources for our educators and our families and students. If you go to the CDE website, there's a Title VI webpage. So there's additional information on post-secondary resources that includes scholarships, financial aid information, and resources to support the college application process. On the Title VI webpage, there's also a document that was just recently created by Indian education directors and coordinators statewide, and it's titled Building a Cultural Awareness in Support of American Indian and Alaska Native Students. And towards the end of that document, there's a list of Colorado-specific resources. We have so many wonderful museums here in Colorado, and they've all developed beautiful resources to teach about many tribal nations. And so you can find that list in the document. But really, I just want to thank everybody for this time, and just send blessings to all your viewers, and just have a wonderful season of giving. Thank you.
Awesome.